The Alchemists' Secret. Deep in the heart of the ancient city of Valaris, where cobbled streets whispered of forgotten times, there lived an alchemist named Seraphis. His small, weathered shop was nestled between towering stone buildings, the scent of strange herbs and arcane potions always lingering in the air. For decades, Seraphis had been a mysterious figure, his knowledge of the mystical arts revered by some and feared by others. Rumors swirled about his long life, for despite his frail frame and gray hair, his eyes gleamed with a spark of youth and curiosity. People said Seraphis had discovered the secret to eternal life, the Philosopher's Stone, an elixir that could grant immortality. Yet none had ever seen this mythical artifact. One stormy evening, a traveler arrived at Seraphis's door. His cloak was soaked from the rain, and his face bore the lines of a life hard-lived. He introduced himself as Kale, a scholar of alchemy who had traveled far in search of the elusive knowledge Seraphis possessed. "Master Seraphis," Kale said, bowing his head in reverence, "I have heard tales of your great wisdom and mastery over the art of alchemy. I beg of you, teach me your secrets, for I seek to unlock the mysteries of life itself." Seraphis studied Kale for a long moment, his sharp eyes narrowing. He had met many seekers before, all desiring the same forbidden knowledge. Some sought wealth, others power, and a few, like Kale, the ultimate secret, eternal life. "You think you desire immortality," Seraphis said softly, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "But do you truly understand what it means to live forever?" Kale nodded, undeterred. "I am prepared to pay any price." Seraphis motioned for Kale to follow him deeper into the shop. They walked through a dimly lit corridor, the walls lined with ancient books and dusty relics. At the end, they entered a hidden chamber, where a single object rested upon a stone pedestal, a gleaming red stone, glowing faintly with an inner light. "The Philosopher's Stone. This," Seraphis whispered, "is what you seek." Kale's eyes widened in awe. He could feel the power radiating from the stone, the promise of endless life and infinite knowledge. Seraphis turned to him, his expression grave. "But there is a truth I must share with you. The stone can indeed grant you eternal life, but it will not free you from the passage of time. You will watch as the world around you changes, loved ones perish, and civilizations crumble, yet you will remain. Immortality is not a blessing, Kale. It is a curse." Kale hesitated for the first time, but his desire for knowledge overwhelmed his fear. "I understand the risks, but I must know. Please, Master Seraphis, show me the way." Seraphis sighed and handed Kale the stone. "Very well, the choice is yours." Kale grasped the stone in his hands, feeling a surge of energy course through his veins. For a moment he felt invincible, as though he could see the very fabric of the universe unraveling before him. But then a cold chill crept into his bones. Time slowed and the world around him began to blur. He turned to Seraphis, but the old alchemist was no longer standing there. In his place was a young man, vibrant and strong, his face filled with sorrow. "Do you understand now?" Seraphis asked, his voice unchanged. Kale realized the truth. Seraphis had lived for centuries, his youthful appearance restored by the stone, but the weight of time had crushed his spirit. There was no joy in immortality, only endless solitude and the burden of outliving all that one holds dear. "You must decide," Seraphis said quietly. "Will you keep the stone and live forever, or will you return it and accept the natural course of life?" Kale stared at the glowing stone in his hands, its light now cold and distant. With trembling fingers he placed it back on the pedestal. "I choose life," he whispered. Seraphis smiled, a look of deep relief washing over his face. "Then you are wiser than most who come seeking this secret." Kale left the shop that night, the storm having passed, leaving the streets quiet under the moonlit sky. As he walked away, he glanced back at the alchemist's shop, now dark and empty. The door was closed, and the faint glow of the Philosopher's Stone flickered out, as if it had never existed at all.